Friends, good morning. In this session, we will be talking about the agencies and programs for development of agriculture in India. As far as the session goes, we will be talking about the National Food Security Mission, its components, progress, and its objectives. Similarly, we will also be talking about the Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, why it has been launched, and also we will be talking about the role of National Horticulture Board and National Medicinal Plant Board. We have especially chosen National Horticulture Board and National Medicinal Plant Board because horticultural crops and medicinal crops add to diversification of agriculture and also provide income opportunities to the farmers. So, in the beginning we will talk about the importance of agriculture in India. If we analyze the figures of GDP of the country, we find that agriculture still contributes 18% of the GDP. Though there has been decline in contribution to GDP by agriculture, but still 58.4% population is dependent on agriculture. So, any distress in agriculture affects the whole economy. Similarly, the agriculture also contributes 10% of the total exports earning. We can see that due to agriculture, food grains production has reached 233.88 million tons in the year 2008-9. This is around 13.10 million tons more than last year production of food grains. Keeping in view the importance of agriculture, Government of India has launched following programs: National Food Security Mission, Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, Agriculture Technology Management Agency. National Food Security Mission. Government of India launched a centrally sponsored scheme called National Food Security Mission in the year 2007-8. This mission covers 3 crops: rice, wheat and pulses, and it has a target to increase the production of rice by 10 million tons, wheat by 8 million tons and pulses by 2 million tons by the end of 11th 5-year plan, that is by 2011-12. Why there is need for food security mission? Food grain production has almost been stagnant over the year, while consumption requirements are increasing. It is estimated that by 2016-17 our population will grow to 130 crores and our food grain requirement will grow to around 250 million tons. So, it is necessary to increase the productivity and production of food grains so that food security of India can be maintained. A study estimates that as of now 80% of the India's population is food insecure. By food insecure we mean that 80% of the India's population do not get their daily calorie requirement. National Food Security Mission components. The National Food Security Mission has 3 components: NFSM rice, NFSM wheat and NFSM pulses. Objective of the National Food Security Mission is to increase the production of rice, wheat and pulses through area expansion and productivity enhancement in a sustainable manner in the identified districts of the country. Here, one thing is to be noticed that this program has not been implemented uniformly all over the country. Districts have been identified on the basis of the area of the crops and also their productivity levels. Second objective is to restore soil fertility and productivity at the individual farm level. The government has recognized that due to excessive use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides, the soil fertility has been affected and that it has become necessary to restore the soil fertility. Otherwise, there is a danger of soils becoming totally unproductive. Creation of employment opportunity at the field level, farm level, enhancing farm level economy, that means enhancing the profits to restore confidence amongst the farmer. As of now, the farmers are not very keen to pursue the agriculture. A study has found out that if given an opportunity, 40% of the farmers would not like to continue the existing occupation. Area of operation, NFSM rice. This is being implemented in 12 states. The name of states are Andhra Pradesh, Assam, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Orissa, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal. The total districts identified under NFSM rice were 133, which have been revised to 136 in the year 2009. Districts from UP, 26 districts have been identified from UP. Some of the districts are Azamgarh, Badaयूं, Bahraich, Bareilly, Unnao, Raebareli and Sultanpur, etc. NFSM wheat. Total states are 9: Bihar, Gujarat, Haryana, MP, Punjab, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal. Total districts are 138, which have been increased to 141 in the year 2009. From UP, 38 districts have been identified, some of which are Allahabad, Barabanki, Bareilly, Gonda, Raebareli, Sultanpur, Unnao and Varanasi. NFSM pulses. Total states are 14: Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Gujarat, Haryana, Karnataka, MP, Maharashtra, Orissa, Punjab, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, UP and West Bengal. Total districts are 168, which have been revised to 171 in the year 2009. From UP, there are 19 districts: Banda, Chandauli, Chitrakoot, Hamirpur, Jalaun, Jhansi, Lalitpur, Mahoba, etc. That means the Bundelkhand region of the UP has been identified for pulses. Criteria for identification of the districts. NFSM rice, the criteria was that the district should have more than 50,000 hectare under rice and the productivity of the district should be less than the state average productivity. Similarly, for NFSM wheat, the criteria was districts with sizable area under wheat, having irrigation facilities to a great extent, because wheat is a Rabi crop and in that season generally we do not get monsoon. So, irrigation facilities are required for survival of the crop, and productivity is less than national or state average. NFSM pulses, the district selected based on potential for area expansion through intercropping or fallow land. In case of pulses, the government has sought to increase the production through area expansion. Financial outlay, the project is being implemented over a period of 5 years from 2007-8 to 2011-12. As we can see, there has been allocation of 402.27 crores in the year 2007-8, 1316 in the year 2008-9, 944.22 crores in the year 2009-10, then 1056.26 in the year 2010-11 and 1162.97 in the year 2011-12. Total allocation for NFSM in the 11 5-year plan is 4,882.48 crore. If we look component wise, rice has been given an allocation of 1,722.27 crores, while wheat has been given an allocation of 1,920.33 crores and pulses have been given an allocation of 1039.88 crores. So, approximately 2000 crores will be spent for increasing the area and production of wheat. Similarly, around 1700 crores will be spent on increasing the production of rice and 1250 crores on increasing the production of pulses. Strategies. The strategies have also been finalized how they will increase the production and productivity. First is demonstration of improved technology by establishing demonstration farm. It has been decided that demonstration farms will be established in the identified districts so that farmers can see and adopt the improved technology. Next emphasis is on distribution of high yielding varieties, seed and hybrid seeds. Hybrid seeds are particularly important in case of rice crop. We will talk about the hybrid rice later in the session and also make a comparison between India and China, how hybrid rice has made a difference to the production of rice in China. Then support for micronutrients. As we know, the crops also need micronutrients like boron, etc. So, they have made a support for micronutrients. Training of farmers. Unless the farmers are trained, they will not be able to adopt the improved technology. So, there is emphasis on training of farmers. Then they have also instituted award for best performing districts. Next strategy is promotion of SRI system. SRI means system of rice intensification. This is a system which can boost the production of rice in the country. Similarly, there is another strategy, adoption of zero tillage cum seed drill for wheat crop. Now, we will talk about the hybrid rice. If we compare India and China, India produces 87.6 million tons of rice from 42.4 million hectares. That means approximately 2 tons per hectare, while the China produces 178 million tons of rice from a mere 29 million hectares. That means their productivity is around 6 tons per hectare. So, there is a difference of almost 200% in the productivity of India and China. And the major reason for difference in productivity is that China embraced hybrid rice technology in a big way, while India has had a slow start. What is hybrid rice? Hybrid rice plants are vigorous crop varieties that give a 25% higher yield because the seeds are produced from very diverse parents. So, the positive side of hybrid rice is that they increase the production, they give higher yields. But the downside is that the farmers need to buy these seeds every year. They cannot reuse the seeds, and these seeds are also expensive. They cost around 4 to 5 times more than the normal seeds being used by Indian farmers. So, that has been the problem in adoption of hybrid rice technology in the country. India today has a mere 1.2 million hectares under hybrid rice cultivation, and the seeds are mostly produced by the private sector, while 54% of the Chinese rice is grown under hybrid varieties amounting to 15 million hectares, and the most of the seeds are produced by the public sector. So, there is need to increase the involvement of public sector in production of seed in India if we have to expand the hybrid rice technology. Implementation at the district level, the scheme is being implemented through Atma Agriculture Technology Management Agency, and each district has to prepare a strategic research and extension plan for agriculture development of district. Zero till cum seed drill. This is required for wheat crop cultivation. What are the advantages of zero tillage machine? The zero till cum seed drill saves cost, water and time. Farmers who use zero till spend much less time and energy on crop sowing because land preparation and seeding operations are performed in a single run. While if it is to be done separately, the farmers have to make 6 to 8 passes through the field for plowing, leveling and seed sowing. So, there is saving of diesel and labor, and planting operation is completed quickly. It is estimated that there is a saving of around 36 liter per hectare for farms which use tractors, and this reduces the overall sowing cost by 80%. Besides, it takes care the need for timely planting of the wheat. As this wheat crop is subject to heat stress, as it is delayed, the heat can reduce the wheat yield by 1 to 1.5% per day. So, timely sowing of wheat is very important, and zero till machine helps us in achieving that. Zero till not only saves the cost, labor and encourages the completes the timely sowing operations, but it also removes the unhealthy practice of burning the leftover stubbles of paddy. It has been observed that farmers generally burn the stubbles of paddy in their field. This generates tremendous amount of smoke, impairing the environment and causing health hazards like itching of eyes and aggravation of breathing illness, etc. System of rice intensification. For wheat, the government is trying to promote the system of rice intensification. This system is different from the traditional system being followed by the Indian farmers. Here, there is early transplantation. That means the plant has to be transplanted between 10 to 12 days, and the crop is shown in lines. There is a one gap is to be maintained 25 centimeter into 25 centimeter. Besides, this system does not require the flood irrigation. It requires only moisture in the field, which saves on the water requirement and expenses on watering the field. It has been seen that it increases the production by 25 to 100%, and it can reduce cost by 15 to 22%. So, because of that, the Indian government is trying to promote SRI under National Food Security Mission. Progress at a glance. Progress for the year 2008-9. If we see NFSM rice, the physical progress was 58% and financial progress was 47%. For NFSM wheat, the physical progress was 77% and financial progress was 84%. For NFSM pulses, physical progress was 64% and financial progress was 70%. That means in the second year of the implementation, still we have not been able to achieve the targets. So, there is need to improve the implementation process. Outcome. What has been the outcome of the program? As per third advance estimate of 2008-9, the production of rice has increased to a level of 99.37 million ton. So, there has been an increase of 2.68 million tons when compared to 2007-8 and 6.02 million tons against 2006-7, the base year against which the comparison is to be made. So, we can see there has been a good increase in the case of rice. Similarly, there has been an increase of 2.76 million tons in case of wheat over the last year. But if we compare the production in the 2008-9 with the production of wheat in 2006-7, it is only 1.82 million tons more. So, that means there has been some improvement in case of wheat also. But if we look at the case of pulses, there has not been any increase. The production of pulses were recorded at 14.2 million tons during 2006-7, while in 2008-9 the production of pulses is estimated at 14.18 million tons. So, there has not been any increase in case of pulses. Next program we will be talking about Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana. Before we talk about Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, we will say this scheme has been launched to improve the investment in agriculture by state government. This is different from NFSM because NFSM has concentrated on the role of farmers and implementing agency for productivity enhancements and production enhancement. Here the emphasis has been on increase in state investment in agriculture. The background is that our GDP has been growing at the rate of 8%, and there were expectations that in the 11th 5-year plan we will be able to achieve growth rate of 9%. Though because of global meltdown there has been some slowdown in our economy also, but still it is hoped that we will be able to achieve a growth rate of around 8%, 8.5% in the 11th 5-year plan. But the problem is that our agriculture has not been able to keep pace with GDP growth. The growth rate of agriculture has been hovering around 2%. And the major problem has been identified that state governments are not making increased investment in the field of agriculture and allied sector. So, the government of India has decided to launch a new scheme for incentivizing the state governments who will at least maintain their budgetary allocation in percentage terms for agriculture and allied activities. This means, suppose in the year 2007-8, state government has made a allocation for agriculture and allied activities at 5%. So, when next year they increase their total resources, they should at least allocate 5% for agriculture and allied activities. Then only they are eligible for incentive under this scheme. And they should draw a plan for their agriculture sector more comprehensively, taking agroclimatic conditions, natural resources and technology into account. Besides, they should also integrate livestock, poultry and fisheries with agriculture plans. The objective of Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana is to achieve 4% annual growth in agriculture sector during 11th 5-year plan. The main objectives are to incentivize the states so as to increase public investment in agriculture and allied sector, to provide flexibility and autonomy to states in process of planning and executive agriculture and allied sector schemes. That means there will not be any top down approach in the planning of agriculture and allied sector schemes. The plan has to come from the district, and these plans should be based on agroclimatic conditions, technology and natural resources. These plans should also suitably reflect the local needs, crops and priorities. Similarly, they should also try to reduce the yield gaps of important crops through focused interventions. To maximize the returns to farmers in agriculture and allied sectors. That means not only they should increase the production and productivity, but farmers should also get more income. So, RKVY is a holistic planning process for the development of agriculture. Implementation mechanism. RKVY seeks to encourage convergence with the schemes like MNREGS, SGSY, BRGF, etc. What does this mean? This means that the plan should work out a vision for the agriculture and allied activities of the district, and they should also see from where these resources can be generated. The emphasis is on to use the funds which can be utilized for development of agriculture and allied activities in different activities, different programs. Like if NREGA funds can be utilized for leveling a field, they should be utilized. For digging of wells, they should be utilized. SGSY, there is provision for promoting poultry, dairy and other economic activities, so they should also be utilized. So, there should be a comprehensive plan, and all programs should not act in isolation. There should be a convergence between these plans. Each district should prepare a comprehensive district agriculture plan, which will be called CDAP. This CDAP would present a vision of development and also financial requirements, how this development will be achieved, and sources for financing these plans. After these CDAPs are prepared at the district level, they are to be consolidated into state action plans. These state action plans would be approved by Department of Agriculture and Cooperation and Planning Commission at the central government. These bodies can also suggest the suitable modifications. The districts are also required to prepare a shelf of projects for posing to SLSC under stream 1. Before we talk about this, I would like to explain that there are two streams in RKVY. One is stream 1, another is stream 2. Stream 1 is for sanctioning the projects in key activities which have been identified to take care of unique requirements of the district. For stream 1, the project approach will be required. By project approach, we mean there will be a baseline data and there will be a timeline for completing the activities and also concurrent monitoring. Stream 2 is for conventional project. These projects will be sanctioned by the Planning Commission, while the project under stream 1 will be sanctioned by state level sanctioning committee. The committee would be constituted under the chairmanship of Chief Secretary of the state, and it will have a joint secretary level representation from Government of India, Department of Agriculture. Other departments can also represent in this committee, and they will sanction the projects under stream 1. 75% of the allocation of the DAP would be for stream 1 and only 25% of the allocation would be for stream 2. Area of focus, key activities. The activities which can be covered in RKVY are integrated development of major food crops like wheat, paddy, coarse cereal, pulses, oilseeds, etc. Agriculture mechanization, activities relating to soil health enhancement. As we have discussed earlier, the restoring soil health has become very important because of the excessive use of chemicals in our agriculture. Development of rain-fed farming, as we all know that 60% of our agriculture is still dependent on rain. So, it is highly desired and desirable that rain-fed farming is developed. Support to state seed farms. As we have seen that majority of seed is supplied by private seed companies. So, there is need to support state seed farms so that the farmers can get good quality seeds at reasonable prices. Integrated pest management schemes, managing pests through biopesticides, etc. are also promoted under this. Then another thing which is very important, till now for plans of agriculture, non-farm activities were not given importance. But in this plan they have said that encouraging non-farm activity should be a major focus area. Similarly, strengthening of market infrastructure and marketing development, animal husbandry and fisheries, study tour of farmers, etc. So, RKBY is a scheme to promote investment, state investment in agriculture and allied activities. Now, we will be talking about the horticulture crops. As we all know, horticulture is a subset of agriculture. Fruits and vegetable crops come under horticulture, and we have made lot of progress in horticulture crops, as can be seen by this table. Area in 1000 hectares, production in 1000 metric tons. We can see in 2006-07 the fruit crops were grown in an area of 54,000 hectare, and the production was 59,563 metric ton. Similarly, the vegetables were grown in an area of 75,81,000 hectares. This area and production has been increasing over the years, and it has become a remunerative for farmers to go in for horticulture crops. And National Horticulture Board has played a major role in promoting the horticulture in the country. National Horticulture Board was set up by Government of India in 1984 as an autonomous society under the Societies Registration Act 1860. The mandate of National Horticulture Board was to promote integrated development in horticulture, to help in coordinating, stimulating and sustaining the production and processing of fruits and vegetables. So, here we can see that the role of NHB is not only to promote and increase the production of horticulture crops, but also to promote the processing of fruits and vegetables, so that there can be value addition in the total chain. To establish a sound infrastructure in the field of production, processing and marketing with focus on post-harvest management to reduce losses. There has also been a focus on post-harvest management, because it has been estimated that around 25% of our horticulture produce is wasted because we don't have proper post-harvest management infrastructure. Next objective is to develop high quality horticulture farms in the identified belts and make such areas vibrant with horticulture activity, which in turn will act as hubs for developing commercial horticulture. What does this mean? That there are clusters of horticulture farms in various districts, and the National Horticulture Board should promote these clusters so that commercial horticulture will be developed in and around that clusters. strengthening market information system and horticulture database. There is also need to improve the database of horticulture, like to have figures about the production and productivity and area under different crops. Then also market information system, that means where the prices of the commodities are more or less, how the farmers can utilize this information. Develop post harvest management structures. So the NHB has also launched cold storage scheme for farmers. Next objective of the National Horticulture Board is to assist research and development programs to develop products suited for specific varieties with improved method and horticulture technology. Another objective of National Horticulture Board is to provide training and education to farmers and processing industry personnel for improving agronomic practices and new technologies. Agronomic practices means all the practices followed from sowing to harvesting of the crop is called agronomic practices. Another very interesting objective of National Horticulture Board is to promote consumption of fruits and vegetables in fresh and processed form. That means the Government of India has recognized that for increasing the production, it is necessary that the consumption is also increased. Organizational structure of Horticulture Board. It has got a board of director which is headed by Union Agriculture Minister, who is president of the board of director, and Union State Agriculture Minister is the vice president of board of directors. It has also got a management committee. It has got a network all over India. In each state it has got an office. In bigger states like UP and Maharashtra, it has got 4 to 5 offices. Schemes of National Horticulture Board. First is development of commercial horticulture through production and post-harvest management. Capital investment subsidy for construction, modernization, expansion of cold storage and storage of horticulture produce. Technology development and transfer for promotion of horticulture. Market information services for horticulture crops. Horticulture promotion services including terms of reference for techno-economic feasibility studies. First is development of commercial horticulture through production and post-harvest management. The objective is to develop high quality horticulture farms in identified belts and make such areas vibrant with horticulture activities, which in turn will act as hubs for developing commercial horticulture by adopting high-tech horticulture techniques. That means some areas will be identified and developed, like in UP they have identified mango belts in Lucknow and JP Nagar. Similarly, Meerut there has been promotion of floriculture. To develop post-harvest management infrastructure, to improve linkages between horticulture producers and marketers, to create integrated network for marketing of horticulture produce, to increase producers' share in consumer price. What are the components which are covered? There are two types of components which are covered under this scheme. One is production related, here high quality commercial horticulture crops like broccoli, indigenous crops produce and herbs like mango, guava, aromatic plants like lemongrass, gugul, seed and nursery, biotechnology, tissue culture banana, biopesticides, organic food. As we all know, there has been great demand of organic foods by the well-to-do section of the society, as excessive use of chemicals in our agriculture has deteriorated the quality of crops being produced. So now those who can afford, they are asking for organic foods. So this is one area which can be promoted by National Horticulture Board. Then establishment of horticulture health clinics and laboratories. As we all know, like human beings and agriculture crop, horticulture crops also need the diagnostic services and also cures. So establishment of horticulture health clinics and laboratories can also be covered by National Horticulture Board. Then it can also provide consultancy services. Beekeeping can also be covered by National Horticulture Board. Here we have found out that beekeeping is a very good activity and there is great demand of honey in European countries. So there is great export potential and farmers from companies from Rajasthan, Punjab, etc. are engaged in export of honey and they need raw material. So farmers can also be encouraged to go for beekeeping. Eligible organizations. The organizations who are eligible for support from NHB are NGOs, Association of Growers, individuals, partnership, proprietorship concern, firms, companies, corporation, cooperatives, APMCs, marketing boards, committees, municipal corporation, municipal committees, agro industries corporation, state agriculture universities and other concerned R&D organization. That means the coverage eligible organizations list is very long. Almost any organization which is engaged in development of horticulture can be covered. Next scheme is for post harvest management or primary processing. It includes grading, packing, washing, waxing, sorting and drying center, pre-cooling unit, cool stores, reefer vans, containers with multi-chamber, multi-product facility, specialized transport vehicle, retail outlets, auction platform, ripening or curing chambers, marketing yards, ropeways, radiation unit, dehydration unit, vapor heat treatment unit, primary processing of products, fermentation, extraction, distillation, juice vending, pulping, dressing, cutting, chopping, etc. Horticulture and ancillary industry like tools, equipments, plastics, packing, etc. Mango pack house. You see a picture of mango pack house. As you know, the mango is exported to the European and Arabian countries. Before exporting the mangoes, it is required that they are cooled. So for that purpose, these mango pack house have been created. They are sorted, cooled and then exported. So it is the use of mango pack house. Reefer vans, that is refrigerated vans, they are required for transportation of produce which are destroyed very quickly. Pattern of assistance, back-ended capital subsidy at the rate not exceeding 20% of the total project cost. Here back-ended capital subsidy means the subsidy will be given after the repayment of the loan and it will be given only for the capital expenses. That means recurring expenses of the projects are not considered for giving the subsidy. Maximum limit of subsidy is 25 lakhs. For northeastern, tribal and hilly areas, the maximum limit of subsidy is rupees 30 lakhs per project. Term loan component. That means it is a loan linked subsidy scheme. There should be a term loan of at least 25% of the project cost as per appraisal of the bank. That means the project cost will not be determined on the basis of project report submitted by the entrepreneur, but it will be determined on the basis of appraisal done by the bank, and it should be 25% of the such appraisal when the project cost is up to 30 lakhs, and in case of proposals above 30 lakhs, the term loan should be at least 40% of the project cost as appraised by bank. That means the individual, if he even if he has got the money, if he invests from his own money, he is not eligible for the subsidy under the scheme. Submission of proposal. If the project is costing up to 20 lakh, the project has to be submitted to State Office of National Horticulture Board. In case it is more than 20 lakhs, the proposal is to be submitted to National Horticulture Board, Head Office, Gurgaon, and a copy is to be sent to respective State Office of National Horticulture Board. Next scheme is technology development and transfer for promotion of horticulture. The activities are popularization of new technologies, tools, techniques for commercialization, adoption, introduction of new concepts to improve farming systems, upgradation of skills by exchange of technical know-how, consolidating research efforts for specific problems, identification, collection, rapid multiplication and popularization of indigenous crops and other flora of horticulture importance with emphasis on domestic and export promotion, familiarization and exposure towards newer scientific concept, temper and research and development from hitherto unknown, unexplored and traditional status of farming and post-harvestment management on to modern lines. Eligible components are introduction of new technology, visit of progressive farmers. The visits can be local and it can also be international visits. Promotion and extension activities, expert services from India and abroad. That means the farmers can get the consultancy from India or abroad. Technology awareness, then organization participation in seminars, symposia and exhibitions. The NHB can organize seminars or send the farmers to participate in seminars, symposia and exhibition. Then there is one competition which will be organized by State Agriculture or Horticulture Department, that is called Udyan Pandit competition, for which National Horticulture Board will give a grant of 1.50 lakhs. Then there can be publicity and films, observation cum study tours abroad, honorarium to scientists for effective transfer of technology. There is also a provision for making payment of honorarium to scientists who help in transfer of technology to farmers. Next is market information system. As we all know, nowadays it has become very important to know about the movement of prices, so that the farmers can get the benefit of difference in prices. So the objective of this service is to generate information on wholesale prices, arrivals and trends in various markets of the country for important fruits, vegetables and flowers, to establish a nationwide communication network for speedy collection and dissemination of market information data for its efficient and timely utilization, to develop a sound marketing strategy, especially by making use of statistics generated by various marketing boards, APMC, for optimizing returns to the producers, to analyze the trends of arrivals, prices and other related factors of fruit and vegetable markets all over the country, to collect and disseminate information on international prices prevailing in the potential foreign markets, to establish website and internet connection through efficient channel system for dissemination of national and international data. Manner of implementation. How this market information system is being implemented is that there are 33 market information systems run by NHB. These market information systems collect information and prices and arrivals in their respective markets and communicate it to Central Coordinating Cell of National Horticulture Board at Gurgaon, which compiles and analyzes the prevailing prices and arrival of selected horticulture commodities of commercial importance. All valuable data collected at different NHB centers are published through monthly, weekly and daily bulletin regularly. Online reports are available at NHB is daily price arrival market bulletin, weekly price and arrival report, monthly price and arrival report, annual price and arrival report. Besides these reports, model projects reports are also available online on National Horticulture Board. Budget approval. The Government of India has approved a budget of 632 crores for National Horticulture Board to implement its existing schemes and promote 25,000 integrated commercial horticulture projects in the 11th plan period ending 2012. So, Government of India is determined that commercial horticulture projects are taken up in the country so that our export earning can increase. The crops covered under MIS are mango, apple, citrus, banana, grapes, sapota, pomegranate, papaya, lychee, bear. Vegetables are potato, onion, tomato, cabbage, cauliflower, brinjal, peas, okra, ginger. Okra means ladyfinger, ginger, garlic, bitter gourd, green chilies, etc. Earlier, National Horticulture Board also used to look after medicinal plants, but in view of the increasing importance of medicinal plants in the pharmaceutical industries and also for providing income to the farmers, the Government of India established separate National Medicinal Plant Board, the objective of which is the board would be responsible for coordination of all matters relating to medicinal plants, including drawing up policies and strategies for conservation, proper harvesting, cost effective cultivation, research and development, processing and marketing of raw material in order to protect, sustain and develop this sector. This work would continue to be carried out by the respective departments, organization, but the board would provide a focus and direction to the activities. That means the departments which were earlier concerned with the export and production of these will continue to work in their respective areas, but board will be a nodal authority. This board, National Medicinal Plant Board, was set up in November 2002, and this board is located in the Department of Ayurveda, Yoga, Naturopathy, Unani, Siddha and Homeopathy, which is called Ayush in the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Committees of board, there are 7 committees of board: Standing Finance Committee, Committee on Demand and Supply, Committee on Cultivation of Medicinal Plants including conservation of rare and endangered species, Committee on Export, Import, Research, Patents and Intellectual Property Rights. Activities of board. Basic first activity of board is to assess the demand and supply position relating to medicinal plants both within the country and abroad, because with the assessment only the government can promote the cultivation of medicinal plants. Advise, next objective activity is advise concerned ministries, department, organizations, state and union territory government on policy matters relating to schemes and programs for development of medicinal plants. Next is identification, inventorization and quantification of medicinal plants, promotion of ex situ or in situ cultivation and conservation of medicinal plants. The Government of India has also launched a national mission on medicinal plants in the year 2006-07, and the total outlay is 630 crore. The mission will be implemented by the Department of Ayush during 11th 5-year period. The objective is that by 2011-12 an extent of 80,000 to 1 lakh hectares is proposed to be covered under medicinal plants, which will be used as raw material by herbal industry through direct financial assistance for cultivation. That means the mission will be giving the financial assistance to cultivators. The mission interventions are in the form of support cultivation of medicinal plants, establishment of seed centers and nursery for supply of certified planting material. The major problem in case of medicinal plants is availability of good quality planting material. So, the one of the mission intervention is to promote establishment of seed centers and nursery, support the medicinal plant processing and post harvest management including marketing. As far as medicinal plant processing is concerned, the harvesting and first grade processing is still traditional. So, there is need to improve the system. Then quality testing, certification and insurance. Insurance is also a major problem, that because so far the medicinal plants are not covered under the agriculture insurance scheme of Agriculture Insurance Company of India. Some of the plants which are covered under National Medicinal Plant Mission are Ceres plant, you can see the picture, which is found in UP. Then Google plant. Financial assistance from the National Medicinal Plant Board is in the form of back and credit linked subsidy. Back and credit linked subsidy we have explained earlier also. That means you have to avail loan and the subsidy will be at the end of the repayment of the bank loan. The back ended subsidy varies between 20% to 75% for cultivation of medicinal plants. In case of processing plants, the subsidy limit of subsidy is 25% of the project cost and maximum is rupees 50 lakhs. In case of infrastructure facilities like testing lab etc., the project cost is 30% of the project cost, maximum 30 lakhs. Here is the picture of hing, which is mostly produced in Iran and consumed in India. Financial assistance for testing charges. Testing charges, the reimbursement will be 50% of the testing charges, subject to rupees 5,000 if the herbs medicinal plants are tested in Ayush or NABL accredited laboratories. Organic or good agriculture practices certification, rupees 5 lakhs for a cluster of 50 hectare on a group basis. As we know, the just by using the practices, good agriculture practices, our produce cannot be certified as organic. There has to be a certification by the outside certification agency. So, the National Medicinal Plant Board has got a scheme to help in certification also, and it is providing 5 lakh rupees for a cluster of 50 hectares on group basis. Crop insurance, 50% of the premium of crop insurance is also being shared by National Medicinal Plant Board. So, in this session we have talked about the National Food Security Mission, which is so important to increase the production in wheat, rice and pulses. We have seen through the outcomes that while it has made some impact in the case of rice and wheat, in case of pulses there has not been much progress, the production has stagnated. Similarly, we have also talked about the Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, which is a plan to incentivize the state governments to increase their investment in agriculture and allied sector. Besides, it also wants that district should prepare a comprehensive agriculture plan and there should be convergence between different schemes like Manrega, BRGF and SGSY, etc. Similarly, we have also talked about the National Horticulture Board and its scheme, and we have talked about National Medicinal Plant Board, how it is trying to promote the cultivation through financial assistance, cultivation and conservation of the medicinal plants through financial assistance, that means through back-ended subsidy, processing plants, and also organic and GAP certification and crop insurance. After this, we will be talking about the Indian banking system in the next session. So, thank you very much.